All right. We'll go ahead and get started today. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. Just want to do a quick sound check. I think I just had an issue with my mute button. But again, just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Just let me know. But anyways, we'll go ahead and get started. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. My name is Marley Long, and I'll go ahead and get things kicked off. Today, we'll be talking about using analytics to boost your SharePoint or Office 365 migration. And this is part of a Microsoft Ignite series that we have been running leading up in anticipation for Microsoft Ignite, which will happen next week in Atlanta. Just a bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded, so if you want to share this with a colleague in the next few days, we'll go ahead and send an email to everyone who signed up with the recording as well. You can connect to us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Cardiolog. In regards for today's agenda, we'll start out with a very short introduction. We'll talk a little bit about Intlock, who we are, what we do. Then I'll jump into a presentation with some tips and best metrics that you can use to monitor your migration before, during, and after. And if we have time, hopefully I'll be taking some questions. So feel free to send your questions through the GoToWebinar panel throughout the course of the presentation. Brief introduction, Intlock has been around now for about 11 years, since 2005. We're based out of Boston, and over the course of the past 11 years, we've been focused on one thing and one thing only, which is web analytics designed for SharePoint and now Office 365. Our flagship solution is Cardiolog Analytics, and it's built specifically for internal platforms, including all versions of SharePoint from 2007 to 2016, as well as SharePoint Online and Office 365. We can also track third-party tools like Yammer, Citrion, CRM tools, and the like. And our solution is available both on-premises and as a SaaS-based version on Power BI. Just wanted to mention briefly, I mentioned before that this is part of a series of pre-Microsoft Ignite events that we've been running. So we will be at Microsoft Ignite next week. If you'll be there, feel free to send me a chat in the chat box right now. We would be happy to meet at our booth. Our booth number is 2148. So if you'll be there by any chance, we'd be happy to meet. So just wanted to let you guys know in anticipation of Microsoft's largest event of the year. So just a bit about what we do with our customers. So our goal is to help our customers constantly improve SharePoint based on how it's being used. So there are three main pillars that we talk about and that we focus on here. So the first is monitor, so that's tracking the usage within SharePoint. Second is engaging these users, asking them what their needs are, what their pain points are, and what's not working for them. And then finally, the most important pillar is to enhance. And we want to make sure that we're constantly improving SharePoint or Office 365 based on these pillars. And the idea is to really have these actionable metrics which will allow us to constantly make the portal better for the users. Just to give you an idea of specifically what our customers have been able to do with analytics, so a few examples. So in terms of improving portal ROI, so they were able to engage with their enterprise users and increase portal productivity in that way. So they actually collected insights and they were able to drive collaboration from their users. Analytics can also be used to identify user challenges. So this is a huge example of where our customers facilitated these innovative survey discussions. And based on the insights that they collected from the survey discussions, they were able to empower and improve the user experience, enhancing portal usability. So they could identify videos viewed for 20 seconds or less and identify or replace ineffective video content. Similarly, they could identify unviewed announcements or updates, and then they were able to inform specific site owners on how to most effectively position that content for better increased viewing. And lastly, increasing corporate productivity. So they were able to actually identify failed search queries and really save employee time by refining those failed searches. They were also able to identify how many users were accessing the portal, excuse me, I'm sorry, less than 5 times per week. And so then they could easily see which employees were in need of more training. So why do we need analytics when talking about a SharePoint migration? So I kind of think this is the main question we need to ask ourselves at the beginning of this session today. You know, when you talk about migration, there's a lot of key aspects that go into it. Sorry, guys, I had something in my throat. So the key here is that you can only manage what you can measure. So only can you know what's going on in SharePoint and define if SharePoint launch was successful or not, and measure if people are using it and that adoption was actually increasing, is by being able to measure what's going on. And that's really the end goal that we're looking at to help our customers with. So how can we measure this deployment, measure this pre-migration, during migration, post-migration, and then leverage analytics to find out whether the portal is performing as expected and whether it's truly providing value to the organization. And I think a common theme that we're seeing now is that many business users see SharePoint as this kind of magic bullet that will solve really a broad range of these sort of internal communication and management issues, but don't really have an understanding of just how or to what degree and at what cost. So too many people just kind of cross their fingers and jump into SharePoint, but don't really have an idea of how to measure the portal and to really understand what's going on in the portal and to be able to determine if their efforts were worthwhile. So another thing that is really important with any migration is the small steps. So there may be this big picture of what you want to do and how you want to push this migration forward. But analytics are really the small steps, and they really help to compile this larger picture in which organizations can really base their decisions off of. So something just to keep in mind, taking it day by day, report by report, I might say. And another idea that I want to mention is setting KPIs, so key performance indicators. Organizations may have difficulty determining, what is a successful migration. What are the right measurements that organizations should use to determine whether their migration was actually a success? So it's really can be based upon the KPIs an organization sets out when they begin their migration process. So for example, we have 90% of end users have migrated to the new portal. That could be one really important KPI to set. Another example would be 80% of end users are active on social platforms like Yammer, Citrion, or SharePoint Social. Another one could be a specific number of page views per week per department. And all of these metrics should be included in the success of the overall migration. But breaking them down makes analyzing these successes and failures more actionable and measurable. And again, each organization will have, to set their own key performance indicators. But as a general kind of rule, some of these are kind of nice ones to measure to base your analysis off of. So the purpose of this webinar today is to really understand how you can use analytics to track your migration. So we've kind of developed it and divided it into 3 separate phases of the migration. So you have your before period, your during period, and your after period. So when talking about before, so analyzing if there's content overload, disorganized information, maybe there hasn't been a migration plan put in place in terms of implementing, scheduling, testing, and the various tools that will be used. And in addition to that, understanding what kind of storage challenges there will be with the migration. When we talk about during the migration process, using analytics during the migration process, so that's analyzing whether users are still trying to or are able to access the old portal. So that could be something that directly relates to security permissions as well. So that's definitely helpful. And finally, after the migration is really using these metrics to assess the adoption of the new portal. So sometimes there can be a resistance to change, there is a technology learning curve, and then the lack of ability to communicate effectively with users on their experience. And that's really where analytics comes in addition to collaboration and engagement tools, in order to try to make the user experience better in the new portal. So I'll jump into this before migration phase now. So one of the most important steps to take before any migration initiative is to prepare and clean up the portal. So that means cleaning up site lists, documents, and sites as well. So archiving or deleting unused content from the portal, it will ease the migration process and really allows an organization to migrate only the content that is needed by the users. So you can use analytics to detect which pieces of content are not being used. So making your cleanup and migration process is much easier. So today I'm actually going to switch back and forth between my PowerPoint presentation and Cardiolog Analytics, the user interface. So I'll go ahead now and switch that over. Okay, so here you can see when we talk about this before phase, I've actually created a dashboard including all of the important reports that you can use to measure your portal before a migration. So I'll start here on the left-hand side. You have your most popular content report, and this report represents a table listing the most popular content, and you can see here it's ranked by the number of followers, number of likes, comments, replies, and so forth. And you can see here the title of the most popular content. So you can see here the content with the most followers was form templates, for example, and you can see the specific interaction with that content. So let's talk about how you can use that content. So if you want to create new pages, for example, you know, a home page on your new portal, so will you use that same navigation bar that was used in the previous version? So perhaps there are links and buttons that people just aren't clicking on. So most popular content can actually determine what aspects of the SharePoint page you would migrate and which are no longer relevant. So this ensures that you can really have a really nice migration, and you can know which kind of content is most popular to migrate to the new environment. So I also included operating system reports. Oops, I'm sorry guys. That you can see here. So this report shows you which operating systems were used to access the portal. So you can see whether it's been accessed by Windows 10, for example, Windows 7, either in addition to mobile or Windows Mobile or iPad, iPhone as well. So how to use this report. So if specific mobile devices are popular, you may want to create a mobile app for your users. So, you know, recently mobile has really become a driving force in the enterprise. So by understanding how your users are accessing the portal, you can really make these you know, important design changes in the new version to accommodate those needs, and empower your users in the new version by making the user experience really seamless and functional for them. You can also analyze whether users are trying to access the portal by using an older browser version that, you know, perhaps doesn't support the new portal. So that could be due to technical constraints or a variety of other reasons, but you can at least see in either a chart form or in a graph that you can see here your various attempts at trying to enter the portal on various different types of operating systems. I also included this report here. I think it's one of the most important reports that we talk about when we talk about this before migration phase. And this is the Unmodified Documents report. So this report shows documents or lists items not modified or updated. And you can utilize this report to assess if the types of documents are either irrelevant to users in the portal or perhaps they're not easily accessible. So if they're not easily accessible and they're really valuable to the organization, you can really understand, okay, so maybe I need to place this in an easier place in the portal, so in the new version, so that users can more easily access this type of document. Moving down the report, I also included Active Directory user groups. So we pull information from the Active Directory that's already set up in SharePoint, and it shows the usage of these groups ranked by page views and visits for a specific item or level of the portal hierarchy. So if here you can see your various groups here, and if you know specific groups are not using your current intranet, they will probably need more focused training to make sure that they are really starting to use the new intranet in the new version. And this is really important because oftentimes organizations allocate resources in the sense of giving everyone the same amount of training. Well, that's kind of silly if you can actually make these very informed decisions based on this real data that's telling you, okay, this specific group has really adapted to the portal, but this group is really lagging. Then you can allocate those resources to the groups that really need the training, and even use the groups that are kind of the superstars to help the lagger groups as well. So maybe sharing that information and kind of asking these superstars, how their experience has been in the portal in order to share this knowledge throughout the organization. Moving here to the right, for your unique users. So this just displays the distinct users visiting your portal. And you can use this report by leveraging these top users. So in the same sense that I talked about these top groups, you can also leverage top users and allocate, even specific roles to them, for example, such as SharePoint leaders in each department, to help others who may not be as active or knowledgeable on SharePoint. And you can also see very specific users who may need very targeted training as well. So this is another great way to, allocate those very precious resources that the organization has to only allocate training to those who haven't been using the portal at all, or very little. Okay, so now I'm going to jump back to our slide deck. So now we're moving on to the mid-migration phase. So analytics can also assist you in measuring your portal activity during the migration phase. So are people adapting to the new portal or still trying to access the old environment, like I mentioned before? So if you can find this out by using reports like usage trends as well as unique users, and you can also use a variety of collaboration and engagement tools. So I'll show you a very interesting engagement tool. So this is a message bar. A message bar is a powerful tool that places a visible yet kind of unobtrusive full-width bar at the top of your SharePoint site. And it really allows you to convey this important information to your intranet users without the need to really overhaul any of your main content. So once this is in place, you can easily communicate announcements, alerts, ads, links, all within just a few minutes. And it's very useful during the migration process because it really allows site administrators to broadcast important information or even redirect users to the new portal if the old portal is still in use. Okay, I'm going to go back to Cardiolog just for a moment. So now I'm going to show you the report for the during migration phase. So I wanted to show you this multiple farms usage reports. So you can create analytics reports in terms of comparing these multiple farms, and they really allow us to compare the usage of each farm to see the progress from the old environment to the new one. So during the migration process, you can generate usage trends reports to go ahead and see the usage trends of, farm A versus farm B. So here, for example, I included the SharePoint 2010 farm, and in this scenario, it looks like we are migrating to the SharePoint 2013 farm. So you can compare these two reports relating to the SharePoint 2010 farm and these reports relating to the 2013 farm. And it's possible to also drill down within these reports to monitor activity at a more granular level. So you can easily compare the trends for a site that you've migrated, for example, the HR site, and see if users from the HR department are still using the old version or have successfully migrated to the new version. And by tracking multiple environments at the same time, you can monitor whether usage trends are starting to increase in the latter version of SharePoint in order to really ensure that this migration was effective. So jumping into post-migration and adoption of the new portal, so I think out of all phases of the migration, this is the most important. So the biggest challenge in any migration is making sure that people are actually utilizing the new portal. So a large amount of time and effort and budget is dedicated to purchasing new licenses, migrating content, and training users. And now there's really this need to show that users are leveraging the new portal and that there's really this return on investment from the migration. So enhancing the user experience is also something that analytics can help achieve. So by creating reports to measure adoption, you can easily make decisions to improve the new portal. When communicating with your users is really of utmost importance when encouraging interaction in the new portal. So you can actually use a surveying tool and you can actually ask your users what's working and what they'd like to see in the portal. This is just a brief example of a surveying tool that's used in Cardiolog Analytics. So here you can see was their search successful, yes or no, and then organizations can leverage these insights to make powerful decisions in order to make the portal better for their users. So I'll jump now to our last dashboard that I'll show you guys. And this dashboard is going to reflect the after migration process. So all the reports that you can use after a migration. There are actually many that you can use. They only included some of the most important for today. But for example, you have this unique users chart. And so a user is the username, the cookie identifier, or an IP address. The views, so the number of page views here, the number of visits, the visit duration, and you can also track things as well like the visitor depth to see how far users are really going in the portal and seeing how they're actually interacting with the portal as well. I also included these search reports that you can see here. So you have your on-site search phrases. So through analytics, you can really measure productivity through search. And if we find out that everyone is searching for this same kind of content, so if we see here in this on-site search phrases that if everyone is searching for I don't know, portal or enterprise catalog, for example, let's put a link on the main page and make it easier for our users to access and save everyone those 30 seconds each day that they're searching for that same popular content. And this really ties back into helping users navigate through the portal easier with these really intelligent insights. We also have our on-site failed search phrases. So for example, if you see that many people are searching for something like a search phrase like holidays and you don't have any content in the portal reflecting this search phrase, then you can easily know, hey, okay, everybody is searching for this phrase. It's obviously very important to my users, so let's go ahead and put some content on the portal to help our users out. And I just want to show you again, so I'm going to go ahead and generate this report here. And once I generate this report, it's very easy to go ahead and share these reports. So they can be shared through PDF, through CSV. You can also share through a custom distribution list. And in addition to that, something really interesting is that you can actually create a web part. And this web part will actually show up within the SharePoint portal and is dynamic, so the reports on this web part will change every day. So any kind of site owner or site administrator can easily sign on to SharePoint and see exactly, okay, who are my top users for today, what's my most popular content, and so forth. So that's just a really nice thing about Cardiolog that we offer, is this kind of web part that can really help you simplify and make this analytics experience much easier. So that's just a quick example of some of the best metrics that you can use to really push a migration forward. And again, didn't have a lot of time today to go over everything, but we have a few minutes just towards the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them into the chat box. And if I didn't have time to answer your questions, feel free to type those in to the GoToWebinar or panel, or send them via email as well. We're always happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. If you think of them after the session or something like that, you're more than welcome to send them to our email at info@intlock.com. You can also tweet us any kind of questions at Cardiolog. We also offer a free trial or personal demo. So if you're interested, we have a free trial of both our on-premises solution that I showed today, as well as our SaaS-based solution on Power BI. And we will be hosting a few more webinars on our SaaS-based solution, so be sure to be on the lookout for that if you're interested in a SaaS-based solution for tracking SharePoint online or Office 365. Okay, so I've got one question from Julie. So she's asking, how does Cardiolog actually collect the data? So this is done through a JavaScript tracking code that's implemented on each page of the SharePoint environment. So essentially page tagging. And if you have any further technical questions than that, I'd be happy to put you in touch with one of our technical associates as well. Okay, I'll take just this last question for today. I see. So I've got a question from Abigail, who's asking, how does Cardiolog differ from any kind of the SharePoint out-of-the-box usage reports? So I think the easiest way is that I'll actually send you a breakdown of the numerous reports offered by Cardiolog versus these kind of basic out-of-the-box reports. And beyond reporting, as I showed you with the collaboration and engagement tools like surveys and message bars, that really takes your reporting experience one step further. So I'll send you that link your way, and in case anyone else is interested, feel free to send me a chat as well. I'll be happy to share it. So I think that's all the time we have for questions today. And again, you can reach us at www.intlock.com if you have any questions, comments, would like to sign up for a free trial. And again, I'll be posting the recording online in the next couple of days. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.